Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Liz Kahn here with Unique Behavioral Wellness Services, You Be Well, and I'm here with Dr. James Jernigan, Cornerstone Chiropractic, here in this amazing office.
Isn't it amazing?
I love this office.
We know what we're going to talk about today, but it's just like when that comes in, it's like I remember before we had the construction and walking in, praying about this place, like really like being intentful of could this be where I open up, my practice. And
it didn't look like this then.
It looked way different. Like we're right in a wall that it would have been a wall right here. But but you walk through in a whole different perspective than today walking into the office when it's like we've been here for 2 months now and this is it's almost like living in it. It's like you look at it differently. It's crazy how just 2 months can completely change.
We're getting close to the end of January. It's been almost 3 months.
It's on the 11th of February will be 3 months.
For opening. We got here. That's okay.
That's true.
Let's take every minute.
Our timeline
We're going to take every minute. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But, it does. It's amazing how quickly this place starts to feel like home.
It does.
And I think even for the people who walk through the door, which can walk through our doors, it's just, it feels comfy and cozy, and we love it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So what are we going to talk about today?
Oh, goodness gracious.
So, if I can't get anybody,
Please,
if I can get anyone off track, And so,
we're going to talk about mustard seeds again, right?
Yeah, so what we want to talk about is like, do you feel passionate? Or like, do you have excitement in your life? And if you don't have excitement in your life, there are absolutely a ton of steps that we can do, and maybe this week we can kind of dive into those of like, how come I'm not feeling passionate, or I just wish that I was, right? You said,
I would want to change that question a little, right?
What?
So instead of why am I not passionate, what can I do to inspire
this
passion, right?
Yep.
Right.
So you had somebody talk about it, and we can just, it doesn't matter what the subject is, but they said, I just wish that I was more passionate in X. Fill it in. Like if you could say that, like I wish I was more passionate in blank. Mm-hmm. What you need to do next is find out, am I spending any time in that area? So should we get a little bit less vague?
Yeah, I'll give you a little summation. One of my most favorite people on earth says, I wish I would have felt more passionate about spirituality. I wish I felt more connected to God. Mm-hmm. Which, of course, is always a little taboo. It's hard to talk about God in kind of a secular setting. And so I said to her, okay, here's your issue here. You want to be closer to God. How much time are you spending in your church?
Yeah.
She's like, I don't go to church.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, spirituality isn't relegated to a church or a synagogue, whatever your denomination is. Mm-hmm. Where are you going to find your spirituality? And she's like, well, I'm not. I sit at home and I'm upset about it.
Yeah.
So what's the first thing you can do if you'd like to develop more passion, more intensity, more interest, is to go there.
Yeah. And that's
Seems simple.
And it is so crazy. It's like, I just don't feel like working out. Mm-hmm. Well, when was the last time you worked out? A month ago. And then it's like, okay. And then have you done anything else that's physically, no. And it's like, well, just by going.
Right.
And this is where like, I like to tie it back in my personal life, right? Like I like to think of it like biblically. It says, where your treasures are, there your heart will be as well. And if we just think about that as two different things, like where your focus is, what you're spending your time on, what you're investing in with the time, money, whatever it is, eventually your heart's going to follow that. And what we like to do as a society is, or what we think maybe like pre-programmed is, I want to just follow my heart. And if my heart says that, then
that's right.
Then I'll go that way.
And
right?
it's the right thing. And I feel like the secular version of what you just said is something that we hear a lot, which is where your energy goes, where your focus goes, your energy flows.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That's it in my head. But it's a phenomenal notion. Mm-hmm. Like, and we tell our kids this all the time, if you're interested in space, read about astronauts, read about rockets, read about planets.
In your relationship with your spouse, do you feel like, man, we have nothing to talk about? And then you think about it, it's like, well, what do you talk about? Well, I guess we don't really talk. Or I guess we kind of vent about work, you know?
Or about the kids.
Or about the kids.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well.
And I will tell you that a lot of times, again, we get into patterns. We get in, especially with our partners and people that we're very close to, we get into communication patterns. And that is where some of the staleness comes.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of resources too. Check this out. There's a book called 4,000 Questions for Getting to Know Absolutely Everyone.
4,000 questions.
4,000 questions. It's broken up into categories. I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Which is a perfect book for you.
It really is. I like things like that. But, I mean, truly, like, if you're finding that you're not having great conversations with your spouse, if you're finding that you're lacking something in spirituality, if lacking muscle tone, you know, the first thing you could do, that everybody does, Google it. Google it. Read a little bit of something about it. A lot of us have voice to text or text to voice. Like, have it read to you. It doesn't matter. Just get the information in so that you can plant that little mustard seed.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the mustard seed.
Absolutely.
I knew I'd bring it in.
And if you don't remember that, what we're talking about is it was faith versus fear and how they work the same way, but we're talking about it even deeper in every aspect, whether it's exercise, relationships, all of it. One little thought, right? Let's go with fear. One little like anxiety or anxious thought or doubting, whatever. So it's like that little bit. If it goes unattended to, and it just kind of starts to, another one comes in, another one comes in.
I almost feel like those extra thoughts are watering that seed, right?
Yep.
And
giving it the right environment to grow into this massive thing in your life. And we talk about the stairway. We won't get into too many rabbit holes, but like
we'll try.
Like one negative thought leads to another one,
right.
to another one. Pretty soon you're like 3 stories down of just this massive thing. You don't know how to get out.
Right.
And so
it's like almost the staircase vanishes above you as you keep going down.
And if that one little seed is, we just don't have anything to talk about. Well, that is going to reinforce itself because the next time you talk, you're not going to have anything,
or you're not going to talk. I've definitely worked with couples who are like, well, if he doesn't have anything to say to me, I'm not going to start a conversation. Yeah. I went for 2 days, and I did hear this. I went for 2 days without conversation because I didn't start a conversation. Now, that's not my personal story, but it's very interesting to see.
Just water in it.
Well, and it's funny because you hear stories like this, and I did. I went home, and I was like, and of course, Matt was very uncomfortable because our pattern is that I come home and I'm a mile a minute.
Sure.
And he was like, honey, are you okay? It changed the dynamics.
Yeah.
But if you're having trouble with communication, we can either surprise our partner by not saying anything and hopefully he notices, right? Mm-hmm. Or do something about it. Get a book.
Be proactive in it.
Right.
Yeah. And so that was cool. It's like, and I was thinking about it, especially with like these videos and all these different things. I just like walking in because we try to do a video every single day, and I was thinking, why don't I ever just want to talk about like health, you know? And I was like, I had to do a self-analysis, this is what we want you guys to be able to do today as your action self, is do a self-analysis of what you're spending your time on. We talked about transitions. So in the car, you're listening to the news. At home, is the news constantly playing? Like, what is it? And then we want you to do a self-assessment because I was reading a ton of psychology books. I was reading about the mindset. I was reading about your focus, your intentions. And so that's all I wanted to talk about.
I know. And you're so sweet because you're not talking about the elephant in the room, which is binge watching our series on Netflix. Because I do that in my spare time too. Yeah. And I will tell you that the difference between Liz watching Criminal Minds and Liz watching like Frasier, totally different person. And it's because of what I'm filling myself with in that me time, spare time, wow.
And so if you're not passionate, or like you always like, why do I always have to see so much negativity in my life? Like, why is my life so negative?
Oh, speaking of negative,
I know
Can we hear all that?
Sirens. And so, what are you spending your time on? Yeah. Is it negative things? Because that's going to be breeding, negativity.
Is it watering the seed that you want watered?
Yes.
Is it nourishing the growth that you want? Or is it nourishing the growth that is kind of toxic? And that's a really important thing to start to recognize. Now, I think I've said this at least once a month since we've started to do this. We're not saying you need to go and do an hour of yoga every day because that's going to water the seed. But find the things that you can. I love what you say. If you can reduce the bad stuff and maximize the good stuff, you're already on a good path.
Yeah, that's so good. Awesome, guys. So action step. Find out what are you spending your what are you focusing on through your day, right? Because where focus goes, energy flows.
Right. Or what are you inadvertently taking in, like that binge watching? Yeah.
Or on the background, like maybe it's not even your TV, but at the gym there's the news that was right in front of your elliptical. Whatever it is, I
know. He's always going to go super positive.
The news that I get comes from patients. Like they come in and they're like, it's going to snow Thursday, and I'm like, the next patient comes in, I'm like, it's going to snow Thursday. They're like, how do you get all this time to focus? I'm like, I don't even.
I'm really grateful for people sharing stuff with us.
So if you're telling me things about the news or current events, I guess I'm just taking it out of word. I hope it's accurate.
So, if you come in through here, you can tell them just about anything.
Yeah, I'll believe you. I guess it's going to be 80 degrees tomorrow. That's what somebody told me.
And now we're both pink. It's probably a good time to go.
Yes. We love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.